Good afternoon, everyone. It is great to see this crowd. This gets bigger every year, and as you can see, it's not going to be able to get very much bigger. That's a wonderful problem to have. I'd apologize for those of you who can't even push your chairs back. We just passed midterms here at the University of Wisconsin. We had more than 3,000 parents and family members in town last Saturday for a Parents' Weekend. Badger hockey opened on Saturday, both men and women. And football has a homecoming game this coming Saturday against Illinois. The leaves are peaking in Madison, and it is the usual busy fall semester. Over the summer, as many of you know, we welcomed back two major units that were split off from UW-Madison more than 50 years ago, Cooperative Extension and Wisconsin Public Radio and Television. The members of their advisory boards are joining us today for the first time, and I want to give a warm welcome to the Cooperative Extension Board of Visitors and the boards of directors of Friends of Wisconsin Public Television and the Wisconsin Public Radio Association. Wherever you are, stand up. Welcome back to Wisconsin. Thanks to everyone for being here today, and thank you for everything that you do for this university. And let me again congratulate our distinguished award winners, our alumni award winners. It is an impressive group, despite the video. An anniversary that you should also all know about. This academic year, 2018-19, marks the 150th year since women first earned an undergraduate degree at the University of Wisconsin. We're going to be celebrating that in a number of ways over the years, so if you see some 150 signs around campus, you'll know why. Now, 2 years ago, I gave you all a quiz at the beginning of my remarks to test your Badger knowledge, and people liked that so much I did it again last year, and by popular demand, this is your this year's quiz, and you should all have pencils and paper in front of your table. Get them? All right, this is a very easy quiz. It's only 5 questions. All right, so you've got 1 to 5 here. Number 1, give yourself a point if you have visited Alumni Park since it opened a year ago. That's a test of your alumni loyalty. Second test of your alumni loyalty, give yourself a point if you made a donation to the University of Wisconsin last year. Third test of your Wisconsin involvement, give yourself a point if you have talked with a current UW student since the semester started in September. If you've talked with a current student since the semester started in September. For some of you, that's easy. Fourthly, the last 2 are tests of your Badger knowledge. You will get a point if you can correctly write down the year that the University of Wisconsin was founded. The year of founding. What year was that? For 1 point. And the 5th question, you will get a point. This is a very important question. If you're ever sent to the Chancellor's office, can you correctly identify the building in which the Chancellor's office is located? What building is the Chancellor's office located in? I'm going to give you a hint. It's been there for about 115 to 20 years, so that should help. And now, if there are a few of you who are lagging behind, I do have 1 extra credit option. 2 years ago, I asked this, and not everyone got it right. So this is a question of whether you were listening. Give yourself a point if you're wearing something red. All right. I won't ask you to show it to the person next to you. Okay, just to go over those answers, 1 point if you've been to Alumni Park, 1 point if you made a donation, 1 point if you've talked to a current UW student. Fourth, what year was the university founded? 1848. Everyone who wrote that down got it right. And the last question, can you correctly identify the building where the Chancellor's office is? Bascom Hall, at the top of Bascom Hill. And it's up to you whether you're wearing red. All right, how many people here got 6 points? Stand up and be recognized. All right. 4 or 5 points, wave your hands. Very good. I'm not going to ask the people less than 3. Sorry. Okay, that was a good test. A couple of weeks ago, we received our latest information on educational outcomes, and this comes out to all the universities in the fall, and I'm delighted to tell you that they continue to look great. I've said some of these things in past years, and the numbers only improve. More than 95% of our freshmen return to their sophomore year, one of the best retention rates among public universities in the country. Time to graduation continues to fall. The average student now takes 4 years and 4 days to graduate. I'm working on getting rid of those 4 days next year. And over half of our students graduate with 0 debt. Let me repeat that because people don't believe it. Over half of our students graduate with 0 debt. And of those who do have debt, their default rate upon leaving the university is about 1.5%. That compares to a national default rate of about 11.5%, which says those who do take debt get the jobs and the earnings that allow them to fully repay it, which means it was the right investment for them to make. Now, thank you. Now, those numbers would be impressive in any year, but they're even more impressive this year because we also awarded more degrees this year than we ever have in our history. And I might note, for those of you who are interested in the issues of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, more than half of our degrees last year were in STEM-related fields, largely because the undergraduate interest in STEM continues to grow. So we're improving quality. At the same time, we're increasing our numbers. And that's a reflection of the investments that we've been making across the university in better academic and career advising, and in outstanding outside of classroom experiences, as well as great faculty and inside the classroom experiences. So it's no surprise we continue to be a somewhat hot school. Some of you folks know that we welcomed a wonderful freshman class this year. We selected 6,800 students. That is from among applications that were up 20% over last year. Among our out-of-state students, our applications last year were up 30%. Among our in-state students, they were up 5%, and that is in a year when the number of high school graduates in the state went down. And we are working really hard to do outreach, particularly to those top students around the state who we want to come to UW-Madison. Our new students in the freshman class come from 43 countries outside the US, 47 US states. We are missing Mississippi, West Virginia, and Wyoming, so if you know anyone from there who wants to come, send them our way. And 71 Wisconsin counties. We're missing Iron County this year, one of those large northern, not very populated counties. I also have great news about our research enterprise. We were on a downward trek when I arrived at this university. Our research dollars actually fell 3 years in a row. That is not good news. But in the last 2 years, we have turned that around, and believe me, there are a lot of people who've been working hard on that, and our federal research dollars have increased by 11% in the last 2 years. That is not by chance. And I should note, our research was featured more than 100 times last year in major news outlets, including the Washington Post, the New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal. Finally, no highlights list would be complete without at least a mention of Badger athletics. The NCAA has announced that 5 teams posted academic results in the top 10% of their sport last year, earning NCAA public recognition awards. Those teams here at Wisconsin were Wisconsin football, men's soccer, men's tennis, women's golf, and women's hockey. And our football team has now joined a small group of elite schools, Duke, Northwestern, and Stanford as the only Division I football program to earn these academic award for 5 years in a row. So congratulations to our athletes. In short, we continue to be an excellent educational institution, and we will continue to work to be even better. Now, most of the first 4 years that I was at UW, I will say, was spent dealing with budget cuts. State cuts, combined with a tuition freeze, put us $87 million in the hole, and we dealt with that. But as many of you know, you don't stay competitive very long if you focus only on what you have to cut rather than where you want to grow. It is clear that if we want internal investment revenue at UW, we're going to have to generate it ourselves. So I told our deans and our department chairs that they had to start thinking like entrepreneurs. And I mean the entrepreneurs who make money, not the entrepreneurs that lose money. We've been implementing a series of strategies to grow revenue based on our own efforts. For instance, as you've heard about this, we've been expanding the summer term. We've been creating some new degree programs for working professionals. Our current fundraising campaign is a part of this effort, as is our work to right-size our out-of-state and our professional school tuitions. All of those efforts are paying off. And this 2-year period, where we have no state budget cuts, we actually have a small state increase, we are also seeing an appearance of all the revenue that is coming out of those different efforts. And that means we have investment money here at the university. And as I've said to a number of people, things feel really good at the university right now. So let me tell you some of the investments we're making in 2 particularly crucial areas. I just mentioned that we enrolled the largest freshman class in our history. We take more incoming freshmen every year than Harvard, Chicago, Yale, and Princeton combined. But we know that creating access is a lot more complicated than just sending out acceptance notices. We have to make it possible for those students to come here, and we haven't always done a great job of that. As I've said in previous luncheons, my goal is that any student who is admitted to UW-Madison is not stopped from coming for financial reasons. We're not quite there yet, but we are much closer than we were. We've launched 2 new programs in the last year and a half to create affordable pathways for Wisconsin students to come to UW-Madison. Badger Promise started last year, and it provides tuition funding basically to first-generation students who transfer to UW. And lots of first-generation students start at 2-year colleges, stay closer to home, try college out, after 2 years of that, they do well, and they're ready to come to Madison, and we want to make that affordable. Last spring, we announced a second and much broader accessibility program. It's called Bucky's Tuition Promise. Bucky's Tuition Promise says that if you are admitted to UW-Madison as a Wisconsin student, and your family is in the bottom half of the Wisconsin income distribution, that means you make $56,000 or less, we will guarantee that if you come to UW-Madison, we will put together the scholarship packages that give you 4 years of funding to cover all tuition and fees. I'm really proud of that program, and it is currently covering about 17% of our freshman class. Now, one reason that we can invest in these new programs is that we've more than tripled the number of our own dollars we're making available for grants and scholarships, from $17 million 10 years ago to $62 million this year. And at least a substantial portion of that comes from the campaign efforts that many of you have participated in. In just the past 5 years, our alumni have created 3,400 new scholarships for all groups of students across campus. That's the impact of the Always Forward campaign. It wouldn't be happening without you, and I know many of you have been involved in this, and for that, I really thank you. Beyond investing in our students, we're also investing in our faculty and our staff. As you know, the reputation and the quality of a university rests upon the reputation and the quality of its faculty. Many departments are smaller now than they were a decade ago, largely due to those budget cuts. But as I've told you, our student body has not shrunk. And we have a number of departments, such as computer science or engineering, where the growth in faculty hasn't kept up with the growth in students. So we need to make significant investments in our faculty, and we've made several important steps in the right direction this year. First, we're back to hiring. the same number of faculty that we used to hire 10 and 20 years ago. We hired 112 new faculty, the largest number we've hired in a number of years. And thanks to the investment revenue we've been able to generate, we're making money available to schools and colleges to continue that and to hire more people in high demand areas in the years ahead. Second, we launched a new program this fall to recruit faculty from historically underrepresented groups. We are working hard at being a diverse campus, but you can't be a diverse campus with your students and not be a diverse campus with your faculty and staff as well. So we've launched a program called TOP, Targets of Opportunity. It's going to give departments all sorts of new tools as well as funding to go after people they like to recruit who represent groups that are not well represented within their discipline, and that's different for every department. We're also working to leverage one of the biggest advantages of our university, which is a tradition of collaboration and cross-disciplinary research. So we have restarted what is called our Cluster Hire Program. And cluster hires make the following assumption: to really cement your academic research reputation and to address the big scientific and social questions facing our society, we need teams of people with multiple skills and multiple perspectives across disciplines. A cluster is a joint hire of 3 to 4 faculty who work on similar big problems but come at them from different academic perspectives. The idea is to build research strength in areas where we may already have some faculty, but hiring 3 or 4 more really cements our ability to go after those big federal grants and to really cement our reputation. Over 5 years, we expect to hire 70 to 75 new faculty as part of these new clusters, each focused in building depth in important areas of research and training. The sorts of investments we're making in our faculty, we're making in our students, are designed to make this an even better place for students to come and for faculty to build careers. As any business person knows, investments are always much more effective when they build on already existing areas of strength. And we have a lot of strengths around UW. Our students can testify to our quality. One of our Fulbright scholars, who graduated last May, tells a story of how reluctant she was to come here. Hannah Leiter is her name. She grew up in Appleton. Her mom is a hairdresser, her dad works in a factory. She was first in her family to go to college, and she wanted to go out of state, but her family couldn't afford it. So she came to UW somewhat reluctantly. She said the thing that surprised her most about UW was how very small it felt, and how she could get to know her professors, and how every time she needed help, she found it. And that's no accident. We've been very intentional about building programs that allow our students to grow and thrive here without getting overwhelmed. She did a study abroad program in India, came back very excited about that, spent a year learning Hindi, and is now back in India on a Fulbright scholarship, as I noted. Our faculty testify to our quality as well. One of our newer faculty members in engineering is a great example. Mikhail Kotz came to us from Harvard. He was recently named to the Forbes 30 under 30 list of rock star young scientists. We asked him what it was that attracted him to UW-Madison, and much to my surprise, he didn't say the weather. It was, he said, 2 other things, and we hear this again and again. First, the presence of big and expansive research projects that can take decades to build, that attract world-renowned scholars, and that simply don't exist at other universities. Those big interdisciplinary projects we're further building with our cluster hiring. And secondly, the simple opportunity to be surrounded by and collaborative with first-rate scientists who had interests similar to his own. We are, I might note, in addition to working on investing in our students and our faculty, also working to grow our industry connections, as well as our federal research dollars. And our newly announced partnership with Foxconn is an example of this. Many of you probably saw the announcement last August that we're going to be working with Foxconn on a number of research projects in engineering, healthcare, computer, and data science. Foxconn, in turn, announced that they're making a $100 million gift to the University of Madison, the largest investment a research partner has ever made in this university. The majority of that is going to go to funding a new building on the engineering campus. They're going to pay about $75 million, and we're going to have to raise another $75 million. Anyone who's interested, I just noted we're going to have to raise another $75 million. It's a building that engineering has long wanted, that's been in their master plan, and this gives them the chance to move it forward a little bit faster. The remaining $25 million is going to go in some combination of support for faculty, students, and research in those three fields of engineering, healthcare, and computer and data science. This partnership has already and is going to continue to open up some wonderful opportunities for our faculty and our students. Now let me give you an example of a very different type of partnership and interdisciplinary project. Our Center for Dairy Research is bringing scientists from multiple disciplines together with trainers from the athletics department to figure out how to make what they call a functional ice cream. That is an ice cream that will help athletes recover faster. High protein, antioxidants, probiotics, less sugar, and it has to taste good on top of all of that. They've tried a lot of flavors that didn't work too well, but they think they have a winner with a combination of hibiscus and tart cherry. So keep an eye on our players during the game this weekend. If their performance really kicks up after halftime, you'll know they got some of that ice cream in the locker room. I have told you about the revenue that we're generating that's helping to give us a margin of excellence. But we are still a public university, and we need the support of the state to remain a first-class state institution. Right now, we're preparing for the next budget debate. It's here already. As you know, we do biennial budgets in the state of Wisconsin, so this is the debate for the 2 years that will start next July 1st. That cycle will officially begin when the governor releases his proposed budget in early February, and we will then go into a 5-month debate in the legislature. The UW system, and we have a combined budget across all the public schools in the state, submitted a request to the governor last month, which included more than $100 million in new funding. At least some of that is designed for what we call capacity building, and here at UW is particularly designed for additional funding in engineering, computer science, business, and nursing, 4 of our programs that have had a huge increase in student interest and where our faculty hiring simply has not kept up. There are other things in this budget, but in addition to the dollar request, there's also a request for some substantial capital budget dollars. And as you know, many of you know, the state basically has been a primary funder of our buildings here on campus. The state has not been funding buildings at the same level in the last 2 bienniums, and the system decided to come back with a large request and say, we're building up deferred maintenance, and we need to do this. Included in the UW-Madison projects is a very badly needed renovation of the veterinary medicine school. And if you want to hear more about that, believe me, Dean Mark Markell will be happy to talk to you. There you go. We'll be funding part of that building too. You're going to be hearing from us at critical times in this process, and I hope you're all willing to be advocates for UW. Legislators and the governor are going to need to hear not just from university administrators, but from people like you about the important role that this university plays in keeping Wisconsin businesses and communities strong. Here's one easy way to help. The Wisconsin Alumni Association is circulating an online petition they're going to deliver to the governor, I might say whoever that governor is, in November, asking for continued investment in UW. It will also appear in newspaper ads. And whether you live in Wisconsin or whether you don't, I hope you'll go online and add your signature as an alumni to demonstrate the breadth of support for the university. You'll find a handout in the gift bag that you have, that you're going to receive, I say, on your way out, that will tell you how to find that petition on the web. And I would be remiss if I did not also point out that you are the first recipients of our latest budget and brief publication. This is one of my favorite publications, but then I'm an economist. It tells you where our money comes from, and it tells you where our money goes. And if you've got a little bit of extra time tonight and aren't feeling sleepy, I encourage you to look at that. Let me leave you with a story. A couple of weeks ago, I spoke at a meeting of business leaders that we hosted across the state and from around the Midwest. And during my talk, I mentioned what I've already told you, that more than half of our undergraduates graduate with zero debt, and those who do take out loans pay them back almost entirely. I told the audience our student default rate was 1% compared to the national average of 11%. And the reaction in the crowd was very interesting. I was talking to people afterwards. The people who were not alums and didn't know as much about the university were very surprised and very impressed and wanted to ask, are those numbers real? How do you get them? And the people who did go to school here weren't surprised at all. One of our alums, who was present, runs a multinational firm based in Chicago. And he said the following: "That's the way Badgers are. That's how I was as a student. They're hardworking, dependable, and they've been trained as problem solvers. That's why I've hired so many of them, and that's why my daughters are there now. And that's why my friends want their kids to go to UW-Madison. There are lots of reasons why I enjoy being on campus every day, but I think the best part of my job is always the opportunity to see all these amazing students launched into whole new worlds of learning and careers and opportunity. So thank you all for the work that you do to make this work here at the university possible. You are our best ambassadors for the value of this university. Thank you for your dedication to UW, for your work on advisory committees from across campus, and for the many ways that you support our faculty, our students, and our institutions. I hope to see all of you at the game on Saturday, and on Wisconsin. Thank you.